I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, July the 9th, brought to you in part by TALEVE by Norbrook. TALEVE is an affordable alternative to Draxxin and delivers the same fast and long-acting broad-spectrum activity you expect from a tulathromycin injection. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma. They're back to work. They did take last week off for the 4th of July holiday. Going to have 3,000 head, maybe a little bit more here on Tuesday for the regular cattle auction. Talked to Lane Conkle there, said they're going to have 400 to 500 calves, mostly weighing in the light 5s to the 6s. Maybe only about 40% of them weaned. There was one string of calves, 120. The rest of them will be smaller groups. About 2,500 yearlings. A lot of them will be sold in load lots. 300 to 400 yearling heifers weighing 700 to 900 pounds and several loads in there. And then about 2,000 yearling feeder steers weighing mostly from 800 to 1,000 pounds, maybe up to 1,050, and probably about 20 load lots included in those yearlings there. Just a pretty regular cow sale to follow. 300 to 400 cows. Did have a few red Angus pairs if somebody was interested in some of those. But good sale there at Beaver County Stockyards. You can view and bid that sale at DVAuction.com. Give them a call ahead of time so you can get approved, guys, and let them know that you're interested. Cash and futures in opposite directions. Now we see that quite a bit because the futures do not do a very good job of telling you what the cattle market is going to be or is or was whenever you're getting right up to fruition and the contracts are mature. They're still way off the bat. Of course, not feeder cattle. Feeder cattle are cash settled, and I never thought so, but I'm beginning to think now that your live cattle should be cash settled also, because your feeder cattle always come up and meet your CME cash feeder cattle index value whenever when they're mature. The hell of it is, we don't know what we would set your live cattle cash price on, because the trade is so watered down, and then your futures pretty much only tracks the Southern Plains trade, when the only amount of trade that we see and any kind of volume is in the Northern Plains. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, for instance, August live cattle futures ended the day's trading on Monday at 184.35. Your 5-area feeding region weighted average on steers was 197.09. You know, it doesn't even have anything to do with it. So we saw your futures down hard on live cattle and feeder cattle, and we saw all-time record high prices posted in your fed cattle arena, your feeder cattle, your calves, and slaughter cows on Monday. Now tell me how that works. You know, whenever those publicly traded markets, whenever gold is higher, gold is worth more. Whenever, and even in your ag products, when corn is higher, corn is worth more. But cattle don't seem to follow anything. All your speculators, most of them outside the industry, they just cannot wait for this cattle market to tank. They say, oh my gosh, this cattle market's at all-time record highs. Oh, it's got a long ways to go down. We're going to short that thing and ride it all the way down. I hope you continue to lose your ass. Just keep betting on that cattle market to tank, and we're going to keep making it go higher. And if there was any way that we could get the live cattle contracts to come up and get somewhere close to what cash is, you would really feel how strong that market is. But we don't. If CME would allow your long positions to demand delivery whenever your board is so much behind cash, that would bring it back up. Because on the other hand, your shorts can threaten delivery, and it brings the market back down. It would only be fair to allow them to demand delivery. of these cattle. You get some small packers coming in there to do that. You might even get some people, as far out as it's been, you might even get some people that would take delivery or demand delivery, get the cattle and rail them into a plant. These packers are so short-bought. They are so hand-to-mouth, and they are so hungry for product to hang on the hooks. This cattle market's not going anywhere, aside from some black swan that's out there. Of course, we never know when they're coming. They tried the bird flu time and time again, and it never made much of effect. But the heck of it is we are very, very short of all classes of cattle, and we have a lot of demand for them. I was talking with some people over the weekend. Holiday weekend, I grilled some steaks and put them on the plate and was serving my guests and thought, damn, that looks pretty good. And took a picture of it. And I've got friends that send me pictures all the time when they grill up a good steak and it looks delicious, and you're kind of teasing the guys that are having to eat something lesser than that at that time, but you have a big juicy steak on your plate. People don't take pictures of chicken breasts. People don't even take pictures of a pork chop. And sometimes pork chops are really good, but you're not going to take a picture of it and send it to one of your friends or put it on social media or anything like that. Steaks are just different. You don't settle bets with chicken breasts or a salmon patty or something like that. If you're going to bet somebody, you're going to bet them a steak. They're just different, and people want steaks. And we've still got great demand for ground beef, and we've got extremely tight supplies of cows and bulls for ground beef offering there. And that's just the way it is. So all you guys that can't wait on this market to break, you're going to have to wait for a while, because we still have good demand, and we still have extremely tight supplies. And for those of you that don't know, it takes a long time to turn it back up. It's not like a hog factory where you just turn the dial out on the outside of it and pretty soon you've got more hogs. No, it takes a long time. First of all, we've got to start retaining some heifers, and we have not started that anywhere yet. I mean, sure, there's a few guys keeping a few here or there, but we have not increased the number of females that we're keeping back for breeding. So we're still a couple years out to 3 at least from seeing any kind of increase in supplies. And apparently, and I studied those in college and all that. I make fun of the technical analysts and the charts and all that kind of thing, but I studied that stuff in college, studied that stuff when I was analyzing markets for USDA. But I'm convinced now that apparently the technical charts that all these traders go by, they're always on the downside, and all your funds and all those. But apparently the technical charts and the supply and demand curve are not related, because supply and demand curve is staying strong, guys. We still got extremely tight numbers of cattle, still got excellent demand for beef, and that's not likely to change anytime for the next couple of years. Now, we might see some mild increases in market-ready cattle, but at least for the short term, and then some of the technical analysts try to talk us into a bear market, saying show lists are bigger. What the hell's a show list? It's not like it was 20 years ago when we had packers out driving the alleys of the feedlots. Who's going to turn in their right show list? Nobody is going to turn in their right show list. The show lists don't matter anyways. Guys, whenever their cattle are working, they'll put them on the show list and say they want to sell them, but the packers will still pay top dollar for them until they weigh 1,700 pounds or bigger. So what the hell does the show list matter? Maybe they are a little bigger. Well, the market's pretty good. They always say, in the market, it does usually suck. The fat cattle market does usually suck late in the summer. I don't know that it's going to this year, because we just don't have very many cattle out there. We didn't hardly sell any cattle last week on a direct basis. Negotiated 38,800 for the week, and I realized that it was a holiday week, but they were buying for a normal week this week and didn't buy hardly any cattle. Didn't hardly buy any cattle, period. Your formulas were down, and then not a lot of negotiated grid. Forward contracts were up just a little bit, but just not a lot of fed cattle marketed at all last week. It was the third lightest week of the year so far, and the first two were weeks where we had terrible winter storms, where your packing houses were dark and they weren't moving a lot of cattle and things like that. But they've got to dig in and start filling those empty shelves that we cleared out over the holiday, and I think fat cattle are going to be higher again. On Monday morning, New Holland, Pennsylvania, out east, where they have a fat cattle auction, one that I covered for 3 years out there, they were selling groups of fed cattle for 211, 212, 212 and a half. Now those are regional type packers out there, but they're not mom and pop butcher shops, guys. They need the cattle out there. So we saw your weighted average for live steers last week, and then that small trade, another all-time record high price for the history of the world, $197.09. We still haven't seen a lot of cattle trade over $2. We've got up to $2. I told you guys that was going to be quite a threshold to get over. We've got up to it, but we can't get over it. And then of course we just had all-time record highs, and I'm going to tell you guys all about them as we go through this report. Western Video Market started their big Reno sale on Monday here, and we'll talk about wham, bing, bang. You're always nervous how an auction's going to start out, and I don't care if you're selling household goods or farm equipment or cattle or registered bulls or whatever, but you always want to start out on a high note. First thing in the morning, Western Video Market in Reno, Nevada, out there at the Silver Legacy Casino. The first lot that they sold was the Kelly Ranch in Sutherland, Nebraska. I told you they were going to start out on Monday with yearlings, and that they were going to start way out in the plains, and you said that's Western Video Market. They don't sell any cattle that far out in the plains. The hell they don't. They sold cattle in Sutherland, Nebraska. That's in the sand hills there in Nebraska, guys. They were ranch raised, 100% black steers, and they did have all the bells and whistles. NHTC, verified natural, GAP 4, veg fed, beef care. They didn't talk mean to them, and they didn't use any hot shots, and everything was sappy good there. But they were hard yearlings, home raised yearlings for mid-September delivery. 134 of those yearling steers weighed 830 pounds for a base weight, and bring 290. Now, when do you remember 8-weight yearling feeder steers bringing 290? You don't. It's never happened. It's all-time record high, guys. It's unbelievable. I've got more all-time record highs to tell you throughout this report. Now let's talk about the dismal futures market, which I'm getting just about tired of quoting, and I wish people would quit trading it. August live cattle futures down 207 at 184.35. $13 back of what your 5-area feeding region average was for last week. October live cattle down $1.87 at 185.30. Your back months down 85 to down $1.52. Feeder cattle for August down $2.30. Now still trading out there in front, but all your future delivery stuff are trading at a premium to what's selling right now. But did they bring 290 like those cattle from off Western Video Market did? No, they were down 230 at 259.17 based on an 800-pound steer. September feeder cattle down $1.60 at 260.62. Your back months on feeder cattle down $1.50 to down 232. Now your grains were down big too. Of course you can expect that. I know we've had flooding damage, but a wet year is always going to make a bigger bumper crop than a dry year, and we're starting to see a little bit of that flooding shore up a little bit. But July corn, and I was up in Iowa, up in Missouri, up in that corn belt there not long ago. Never saw the corn look any better, and they've had really good rains in the few areas that needed it. But July corn for Monday was down 15.5 cents a bushel at $3.95 3/4, under $4 again. That makes a difference, guys. Get them cost of gains down in the 80s. Soybeans down 14.25 cents a bushel at $11.74 1/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat down 21.75 cents at $5.73 1/2. Your weighted average on last week's tiny fed cattle trade on a direct basis out of your 5-area feeding region, 38,800 was all they sold negotiated, compared to 57,700 the previous week and 62,100 the same week a year ago, which would have been a holiday week also. But live sales, fat steers and heifers negotiated in your 5-area feeding region ranged from $1.88 to $2, exactly the same as the previous week. But there was such a light trade in the Southern Plains, which is trading at a big discount, to suck that down. Your weighted average hit an all-time record high again. 197.09 is now your all-time record high fed cattle price. 5-area weighted average, that was up $1.28 compared to the previous week's all-time record high. Dress sales 308 to 315, kind of unevenly steady. It was really 2 higher to 2 lower, or 2.5 lower, but 308 to 315. Weighted average on dress steers 313.69, another record high for dress steers. It was 22 cents higher is all, compared to the previous week's all-time record high. As a whole, your Northern Plains sold mostly steady to $2 higher live from $1.98 to $2. Dress sales mostly steady to 3 higher from $3.12 to $3.15. Southern Plains sold steady at $1.90. Nationwide, we sold 51,200, which is nothing compared to 68,900 the previous week and 75,400 the same week a year ago. And I'm talking about negotiated, where you can find the market. But of that 51,200 last week, about 23% of those are said to be 15 to 30-day delivery, but they'll call for them before then. Negotiated grid sales last week, 34,900. Few people think that the market could slip, so forward contracts were a slight bit higher at 31,900 head. And formula sales last week totaled 229,400. That's about 50,000 head light. Now, of your 4 out of 5 areas that we get information from, Iowa sold 14,000 negotiated last week. That is less than half what they normally do. Nebraska sold 16,100. That's around half of what they do. Kansas sold less than half what they normally do at 5,200, and Texas sold only 3,500. I mean, nothing. But that's more in your fed cattle sellers' favor. The packers are going to be more short bought than your feeders are backed up. Feeders are not backed up. Like I said, taking them to those huge weights just gives them more time. Box beef cutout values were kind of split. Nothing really happened on Monday. Monday afternoon, your choice cuts 330.47. That was up 4 cents. Select was down 34 at 304.72. Your slaughter was 115,000 estimated on Monday, exactly the same as the previous week or last week, and 7,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Specialty Risk Insurance. They are dedicated to educating you on how LRP can work in your operation. For more information, go and check out their website at specialtyrisk.ag. Talk about your feeder cattle markets real-time index on DVAuction late on Monday, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, just like your CME cash feeder cattle index. And they've kind of come back together now after those extremely light receipts over the last week or 10 days there, and then their 7-day moving averages, we were about out of cattle to make up that weighted average. But late on Monday, after trade stopped or slowed and all your sales had quit, 258.21, and that was down $1.06. But now we're starting to get some numbers in there, so it won't be as volatile. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index was 258.29, just 8 cents per hundred from your real-time index, and then starting to get back together again. Your big sales on Monday, Joplin Regional Stockyard sold 10,600 head for another yearling special after having a big sale, a pretty big sale last Monday right before the holiday, then having a huge big bang primetime livestock video sale last Tuesday. 10,600 head. They run them all through the ring in about 11 hours. Started at 4 in the morning. The steers sold $2 to $9 higher, with your 5-weight steer calves as much as $15 higher. Your board was down, remember that. Heifers, $5 to $9 higher. Had a few heavier heifers weighing over 800 pounds, and there weren't a lot of them. Sold steady to $2 lower, according to Federal State Market News. But check out these yearling steer prices. They had 1,195 7-weight steers in Joplin on Monday. They averaged 758 at 266.29 weighted average on all of them, guys, including the commodity cattle. Over 2,600 8-weight steers in Joplin on Monday, averaged 844 with a weighted average price on all of them at 255.09. There were 1,338 head of 9-weight steers in Joplin. They averaged 923 pounds at 247.16. Pretty impressive quotes there, guys. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City only had 4,400 head. The feeders there were steady to $3 higher. Calves were unevenly steady. The hottest market that I saw on Monday, and I mean a going sucker, was Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. That's Jack Harrison and company there. They had around 4,000 head of cattle. They were your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day. They did not have a sale last week because of the holiday compared to 2 weeks ago, or actually 3 weeks ago when they had a really good test. It was sharply higher. Get a load of these weighted averages, and then they've got the top quote for the day at the end. But on middleweight cattle, they had 591 head of 5-weight steers in Kingdom City, Missouri. They averaged 553 with a weighted average price of $342.82. Wow. 625 head of 6-weight steers in Callaway averaged 638 pounds with a weighted average price of $314.12. You kidding me? 267 head of 7-weight steers averaged 741 at 281.93. On the heifers, they had 296 head of 4-weight heifers. They averaged 455 at 325.40. 607 head of 5-weight heifers averaged 545 at 306.69. Heifers, and had 376 head of 6-weight heifers averaged 629 at 289.99. Wow, what a sale they had at Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. DVAuction broadcaster there. Joplin Regional Stockyards, talk about individual quotes. Joplin Regional Stockyards had 454 head in one swath, weighed 919 pounds, bring 250-275. At Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky, they sold 60 steers, weighed 892 at 250-650. But the most impressive quotes that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrison, no BS, top quotes for the day. And that's multiple quotes. I couldn't differentiate between them. At Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri, right on I-70, halfway between Kansas City and St. Louis, guys. Sits on the south side of the road. Been there a million times. They had the Balmer steers, a new consignor there. They'll be back. Come from South Central Missouri. 92 steers weighed 606 pounds and bring 341.50. Yes, a friend of mine bought him. He doesn't drink. They had the top quote that I saw was another friend of mine, 100 head of steers that bought them. I can't give them away, I don't want to embarrass them, but 100 head 520 pound steers bring 388.75. That's an all-time high for calves. I've never quoted calves that high. A load of steer calves, the Simpson cattle, local there, 100 head of them weighed 520 and bring 388.75. That's $2,022 a head for a 5-weight steer. Never quoted anything like that before. The heifers off of them, another friend of mine bought those, 527 head of them. The heifers bring 329.75, and some bigger heifers went for replacement, weighed 546 at 338. Oh my goodness. It's quite a day when your board's going down while all this is going on with cash. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.